very excited to see which two decks are highlighted in this top cut round, the first round of February. We've seen both of these players previously in this tournament, and it's quite fantastic to see Kate actually with her very unique lore counter and super aggro strategy being 6-0. So she's been able to utilize Lilo and Maleficent to her advantage over the course of the event, and she finds herself here in the top cut versus Logan. So we're going to get to see if Logan has enough tools in the early game to deal with the very powerful Maleficent, Lilo, and Pinocchio starts that Kate is capable of. So players are going ahead and cutting very quickly, shaking for sportsmanship, and we're going to get right on the way with mulligans. So for Kate, obviously she wants to see the 1-2-3 start with some amount of bouncing, some amount of early game threats. And from the side of Logan, he'll probably need to see something like. And so let's see if these players find their ideal hands. We do want to mention that this is actually going to be an untimed round, so players have more than enough time to go ahead and go through their decision-making process and see which lines of play are the best for them. So it's definitely, again, going to be an untimed top 8 cut, so good on them to be able to give us the highest level of Lorcana gameplay possible. And something tells me that Kate will not be needing, even if it was timed the full time on the clock, with the aggressive strategy that she brought to the table. And we'll see if Logan can stunt that a little bit, and a Maleficent of his own from the other side. So we will get to see if Logan can actually turn the tables and out aggro the aggressive deck himself. It'll be interesting to see. Sometimes this deck, presumably because of all the uninkable early game, might only have access to 1 or 2 ink in the beginning, but it does seem like her grip is full of decently inkable cards, and does also match Logan's Maleficent with her own. Get to see if Logan has any sort of follow-up, something along the lines of Flynn Rider. Will be good at solidifying the board here. Does actually decide to recycle the Maleficent and play a Mim, and then pass it back. So if in full control of the table is Logan for right now, and Kate will try, most likely develop something along the lines of, Nevermore. So definitely parity on both sides. Both players gain 2 lore and pass the turn back. So a decent start from both sides, and no cards are overly exposed to challenges at the moment. So good on both players there. Going ahead and inking and playing triple Maleficent. So actually opened up 6 questing power in these 3 1-drops, and goes ahead and taps Mim for 1 more. And we'll see what Kate can actually do about this, because Kate does prioritize that 3 questing power Pinocchio over something like the Pinocchio that taps down cards on the opponent's board. So these Maleficents will in fact tap at least once, unless they get something like Befuddled. We do see in the forefront of Kate's hand at least one of those resources there. So she's going to be able to trade with Mim versus Mim, rebuttal 1 of the Maleficent's back, just to stunt the progress of Logan a little bit, and then solidify her field with a Pinocchio. So Pinocchio a little less efficient in terms of questing than both of these Maleficents, but he is only 1 card to the 2 of Logan. So Logan actually just utilizing 2 Maleficents here, knowing that Kate can only at most probably deal with 1 on the way back with something like a Rusher. So it just says, I will turn this game into a race, seeing as I opened up triple 1-drop start, and then adds a spell book to the table just to continue to gain lore in the future turns. So here is actually a Maleficent and an Arthur, and she's going to go ahead and gain 3 with this Pinocchio instead of trading. I do enjoy this because trading would be a little bit inefficient, as the Maleficents on the other side already gained their value from questing, so goes ahead and says, I'll accept the terms of the race. I'll gain 3 lore myself. Something like the Rush Mim did not come out this turn, so that's notable. And from the side of Logan, is he actually going to slow down, or is he going to continue to quest with everything every turn? It does seem like questing is the answer in this. Will pose an interesting scenario to Kate. Does she actually use the willpower on the Arthur to start chipping away at these Maleficents? Or does she try to go for a 2-turn all-in with the questing power she has in play? Get to see. She ends up deciding she's actually going to go ahead and gain 6 total between the Pinocchio and the Arthur, going to 11. And then if she can present something like 9 lore on the following turn, she will essentially be presenting game on board, and Logan will have to try to deal with her board in some way, shape, or form. But she actually can't opt to do that, so she's going to trade Maleficents instead. This is fine if she's trying to slow down the game, if she decided that she can't win the race at the exact moment in time, so just slowing the game down is more than fine. Trying to do the math now to see what she ends up developing, then is going to go ahead and actually shake on the game. So I do believe she goes ahead and concedes, was unable to deal with all the threats on the other side, did not have that rushing Nim like we were mentioned earlier, and Logan secures the first game incredibly quickly. So that is just the nature of the matchup, since both players have opted to play so many cards with 1 willpower. Whenever players are trading back and forth, almost everything will lose to everything else unless they're Madam Mims. The Madam Mims have 3 willpower, and the Arthurs have 3 willpower, so those will be the traders of choice. But Kaylin, not having access to one of those, wasn't able to fully deal with what Logan was going on. And even if Logan's full board was dealt with, he did have that spellbook in order to close out the last few points. So overall, we'll get to see what Kate can do on the play on the following turn or game, and if she can bring it to a game 3. Incredibly powerful synergies from both sides in the Amethyst color, and just again highlighting how fast and efficient the Amethyst color is at gaining lore. So get to see if that type of triple Maleficent opening start, Logan, if he can accomplish something like that again, or if Kate will actually combine both Maleficents and Lilos and do that herself on the following turn. Do see a little bit of cutting. We're going to get right back into it. Both players draw 7 cards. Go ahead and decide what they want to keep and what they want to mulligan away. Do see some Pinocchios on Logan's side. Another Pinocchio on Kate's side. So some 1-drops both sides. And Logan, I would say, slightly favored in a matchup that has to do with board presence, simply because the Emerald cards are decent at maintaining that, board control. At the same time, the Amber color very good at just presenting even more threats, cheaper, like that Lilo, for example. So we'll see if Kate can utilize some combination of those cards to her advantage. I do see a glimpse of the Simba in her hand, so Simba will also be instrumental in protecting some of those 1 willpower cards against the threats that Logan is presenting. So good to see that there. Looking very important that he contemplates on which 1-drop he wants to lead with first, and he's actually just going to go ahead and bounce the Pascal back to hand. Without Pascal in play, it won't matter too much. She's going to go ahead and be able to develop any amount of 1-drops on this turn, any amount being 2. And it's going to be that same Pascal and a Maleficent, so 3 questing power on the way back. And we do get to see development of a 2-drop here for Logan, and then passes back with the 2 questing power, the Enchantress, just doing a good job at trading effectively with some cards. In this case, just gaining 2 quest. So going ahead and doing 2 lore with the Maleficent, and we'll see if she has some sort of bouncing effect she can utilize. And she does have this game, the Fox, to go ahead and bounce back Maleficent, and this will indicate that Pascal can safely go in for 1 and passes the turn back. Logan deliberating here on what he wants to ink. Definitely probably not going to have enough time to activate that draw 2 effect, so he instead inks it and gains 2 lore. And here Kate is in a commanding position of the race, so she can just decide to put all of her cards sideways whenever possible. Or she can also try to trade this Pascal decently effectively against the Enchantress, a 1-quester for a 2-quester from Logan's side. It doesn't seem like a bad trade if she wants to slow the game down a little bit. Kate did go first this game, so she does get to decide how most of these exchanges play out. So goes ahead and the photo bounces the Enchantress, indicating most likely. So she is actually prioritizing the camouflage on the Pascal over the stat line of the 4/3 stat line of the Madame Nim. So we'll see if that ends up being consequential. It could be a good choice in the sense that Pascal is almost unable to be dealt with in this matchup from the side of Logan. So keeping it in play from the side of Kate essentially acts as a sorcerer's spellbook, but without having to pay 1 every turn. So good choice to keep Pascal around, and doesn't seem like Kate is going to be needing that 4/3 stat line anytime soon, as most cards in play have only 1 willpower. So decent trade there, and then we're going to see if any other additional card is played. Merlin Goat, and then passes the turn back. So goes up to 11 lore. So definitely the race heavily favored toward Kate, and most of the time in these scenarios, she's going to be able to win with the cards from the top of the deck. So at this point in time, doesn't need to trade anymore, just has to quest every single turn and will achieve victory reliably. So good on her to go ahead and go sideways over everything. And Donald is actually going to allow Logan to draw an additional card every turn. And in this matchup, it does seem like both players do run out of resources pretty quickly, so that'll be good for him. At the same time, he is decently far behind in the lower race overall. Now going ahead and also giving Kate an additional draw too. Kate wants to try to conceal as much information as possible, although deck lists might be available to everybody at this point. So definitely, other than gaining information, Logan is a little too far behind to try to pose a significant threat to Kate. So definitely just playing out his cards as he has to, but Kate will most of the time win this race. So on top of the fact that Donald draws a few additional cards, it does have 2 questing power, so very good in a situation like this. But either way, Kate goes ahead and draws extra cards, pondering her options to inks the dwarf, and then going to get to see if she develops. I believe she has double Pinocchio. She goes ahead and develops Pinocchio art. There might as well be 2/3 questing power threats, and then says chip in again with Pascal, pass it back, and does present game on board moving forward. And we're going to go to a deciding game 3. So instrumental for Kate to be on the play in that game, but now she is going to have to achieve a victory on the draw in the following game. So we'll see if that will be possible for her, or if Logan will close out the match in victory now that he is on the play. So definitely he gets to dictate a lot of how the tempo of the game flows and what the trades available are. So quick shuffle of a lot of questing power on both sides. And definitely, like I mentioned before, Logan, a little bit more board control, a little bit more favored in trades against decks that have larger static characters. Again, something like that Enchantress being able to trade with something that is much larger than her up the curve. But in this case, most cards in both players' decks have one willpower, so it's more about who can bring out their cards faster and just win a straight up race. There's a draw. And the name of the game is how many 1-drops and 2-drops each player can see. And if a pivotal card, like in Caitlin's case, in Kate's case, the Simba with Bodyguard, that will be quite good at effectively dealing with some of the attackers from the side of Logan, or if Logan can actually solidify the lead with a well-statted Flynn Rider, for example, difficult to get rid of, and also forces out extra resources from Kate. So a lot of pivotal cards from both sides, and we'll get to see if they get to mulligan into them. And crucial is a 1-drop for Logan here. We're going to get to see what his selection of 1-drop actually will be. It will be Maleficent, like in game 1, so starting out quite strong. What will be if the rebuttal will actually be a befuddle from Kate, or if it'll be something else. Same card on the other side, slightly less powerful because she is on the draw, but still important to play something on the table. And I wonder a consequence of these mirror matches if players will actually opt to play something like the 1-drop 2/2s in some numbers in the near future to try to contest the board better. We do see the best of both worlds in that department, in Enchantress being able to quest for 2 while also having great trading power on the table. And then we'll get to see just how strong Kate's opening can in fact be. Bringing back the Enchantress. She has something like a 1-drop here plus a trade on the Maleficent. She does, and if there's a 1-drop here, she actually retains board presence on the way back. So great inflection point from the side of Kate, being able to take full dominance over the table while at the same time developing her 1-drop. And we do see Cheshire Cat. So, okay, very interesting play from the side of Logan. A little bit more of a mid-rangey style card, and the side of Cheshire Cat does not have any strength, so will not be able to contest these questing threats from the side of Kate. So I wonder if going ahead and solidifying something like a Pinocchio on that turn would have been optimal. She opts actually for the highest cost card in her hand in the form of Madame Nim, which is also nice because now she does not have to invest the 3 ink on any future turn in order to play her and deal with something like the Cheshire Cat from the other side. So definitely good on her to use the most cost-effective card at the time. And we will see Spellbook played and activated. So even though it is a slow fallback turn from the side of Logan, now the Spellbook will gain him incidental value over the course of the next few turns. So definitely took his time to play it on the table this turn just to have it available during the course of the entire game. And we will see if he'll have enough time to activate it, enough times to get him to that magical number 20. In the meantime, getting rid of Cheshire Cat with the Madame Nin that was invested into last turn, then goes ahead and plays Maleficent, and will be the follow-up with Pinocchio and a pass of the turn. Four ink available. Oh, 5 ink available, actually, and plays a Cusco. So Cusco probably not going to get dealt with very effectively here with the resources that Kate has available right now. But Kate does have something better than resources: 5 questing power and 2 cards. She's going to go ahead and cash those in. And who will she choose to actually reset? Will it be the Pinocchio or the Nim? It'll be the Pinocchio. And a decent amount of questing power from both sides, but Kate will inevitably win this race if this Nim trades effectively into the Cusco, and then her 2 puppets available plus the Maleficent will try to close out the game from there. And Logan has to find a way to efficiently create threats that can deal with what's happening on Kate's side. It's actually another Cusco, and the Cusco does something very intelligent here from the side of Logan in attacking the 1/1 body of the Maleficent. Now the Cusco is still in play to be used for questing and also has gotten some value. So now if this man wants to trade with the Cusco, it will actually be able to do so. The Cusco will have gained no lore, but a decent amount of value. And now I do suspect the trade to happen, and then this one Cusco on the side of Logan will not be able to efficiently deal with this 9 questing power between all the cards in play. And notably, this Pinocchio Arthur combo is actually quite safe from the Cusco on the other side of the table from Logan. So Kate in full advantage here, going up to 16 lore, and then having, if she gets a top deck at 2 questing power card on this turn, she'll actually present game on the following turn. So is she able to effectively do this? What was her top deck on this turn? And was it something that can be comboed with the Pinocchio? She's gonna bring down the Pinocchio back down, and it was exactly a 2 questing Maleficent, something that can be played with the Pinocchio and will present game on the way back. So does Logan have something like a bounce effect in order to stunt some of the development that Kate has, or will this be the GG? And it was in fact GG, and Kate takes it down. So they get to see an aggressive purple mirror match there, very defined by the opening hands and very important for the player that goes first. But again, Logan had to take a turn off, unfortunately for him, because his resources gave him only the spellbook, so he had to develop that and was unable to actually contest the board, and that let Kate play out 5 questing power in the Maleficent and the Pinocchio and then take advantage